My roommate's work laptop sat on the kitchen table, open, like it wanted me to look. The screen glow hit the laminate and made the whole place feel wrong. He'd been an asshole for weeks, snapping over dishes, accusing me of touching his stuff, acting like I was stealing air. It wasn't big fights. It was the constant needling, muttering when I came in, slamming cabinets, moving my shoes off the rack, and then blaming me for leaving crap everywhere. He started counting dumb shit out loud, like forks, like I was a thief in my own home. If I asked what his problem was, he'd do this calm voice thing and say I was making it a thing. I kept swallowing it because rent was due and I didn't want to live in a war zone. He worked remote, but never said for who. He'd sit with headphones on, screen angled away, and if I walked past, he'd drop his hand over the trackpad like I might pounce. He started locking his door even when he showered. Then he started leaving the deadbolt thrown in the middle of the day. I'd come home, key in the lock, and it wouldn't turn because the bolt was flipped from the inside. I knocked until he finally opened and gave me that fake calm face, like I was the crazy one for wanting to get into the place I paid for. Once I joked that he should put a bell on me if he was that paranoid, and he snapped so hard the words came out before he could hide them. I like knowing where things are. After that, I stopped joking. Little stuff started going missing in ways that made me feel stupid. My spare key moved from the bowl to the counter, then back again. I'd swear I left my fob in my jacket, then find it on my dresser like somebody had taken it out and returned it carefully. Anytime I asked, he'd roll his eyes and say I was scatterbrained. He once accused me of stealing his headphones and made me empty my bag on the floor. When he found them under his bed, he didn't apologize. He just said, "See, like it proved something about me." That day he left for a run and forgot the damn thing. He didn't just forget it. He left it in the center of the table, lit up, browser open like a dare. I was pouring coffee and a notification kept popping. New message request. Over and over. I told myself I was just going to close it. Then the preview flashed and my stomach tightened. Got another one by the bus stop. I didn't hunt for porn. I didn't go snooping for fun. I clicked because my hands moved before my morals did, and because that line didn't sound like work. The username was just numbers. The chat loaded, and for a second, it was only gray boxes. Then photos came in. Blurry shots from across streets, from behind people's shoulders, from inside stores. Women, not selfies, not anything they knew about. One was our neighbor with the red stroller. I recognized the stroller first, then her hair. Another was the barista downstairs. Then I hit one that made the room tilt. It was me, hood up, earbuds in, leaving our building. The exact moment I'd felt watched and told myself to stop being paranoid. The angle was low and sideways, half hidden behind a parked car. You could see my door in the background. You could see my hand on the handle. My skin went hot like I'd been touched. I backed out of the chat and my eyes went straight to the desktop, like my brain already knew where the worst stuff lived. There was a folder labeled keys. I clicked it and felt my pulse jump into my throat. Inside were pictures of keyrings, close-ups of grooves like someone cataloging teeth. Our building fob, my spare key, my cheap brass spare with the chipped corner, the one I kept in the bowl by the door. A screenshot of a locksmith website. Photos of our lock plate screws zoomed in. A picture of the hallway outside our apartment taken from down the stairs, like whoever took it didn't want to be seen. There were even 2 shots of our neighbor's unicorn keychain. I remembered it because she dropped it in the lobby once and cursed so loud the whole building heard. Seeing it in his folder made my stomach twist because it meant he wasn't just creeping on me. He was building a whole menu. A note file sat in the folder too. Plain text. No drama. Just lists. Times. Routes. Habit changes. When she's alone. When she's tired. Lights off by 11:40. Trash. Wednesday, 7:10. Laundry. Sun evenings. My nickname was in there. The one the landlord used once. The neighbor had her own section. So did the barista. 2 other women were labeled by places instead of names. Bus stop, pharmacy. I scrolled and saw updates like progress notes. Changed route after rain. Headphones. Less aware. Door chain useless. Then a line that punched the air out of me, spare copied. Returns same day. Right under it, if she moves bowl again, take from purse. It wasn't fantasy. It wasn't a crush. It was logistics. My hand started shaking so hard my phone camera couldn't focus when I tried to take pictures of a screen. I took them anyway. I kept telling myself to breathe, to think, to do something smart, and the only thing my body could do was listen for the front door. I could hear my own heartbeat, and it pissed me off, like even my body was giving away information. I heard the door rattle. I slammed the laptop shut and grabbed it under my arm. He walked in sweaty and smiling, cheeks pink from the cold, like he'd done something wholesome. He looked at the empty table, then at me, and his smile died fast. His eyes flicked to the counter drawer where we kept scissors. His body shifted that way like it was muscle memory. I stepped back and my shoulder hit the fridge hard enough the magnets clacked. My voice came out loud and ugly. I told him, loud, to keep his fucking hands where I could see them. He laughed like I was being dramatic and said I was overreacting. He lifted his hands a little, palms out, slow, like he was calming a dog. Then he took one step toward me anyway, like he couldn't help testing how far he could push it. I didn't argue. I ran, barefoot down the stairs with a laptop digging into my ribs, feet slapping cold concrete, almost wiping out on the second flight. I hit the street like it was oxygen and ducked behind a parked car to call 911 because my brain kept screaming that if I stayed in the open, he'd see me, and if he saw me, he'd move faster. I kept saying roommate, laptop, photos, keys, like I could make it real by stacking nouns. The dispatcher asked if he'd hurt me. I said not yet. I hated that answer. When the cops finally showed, he turned into a calm, wounded saint. He talked soft, hands open, like he was the one scared. He said I'd been stressed. He said I invaded his privacy. He kept repeating work laptop like it was a magic shield. The officer looked at me like I was bringing them roommate drama and asked if I was sure before he even looked at the photos. That question made my face burn. Sure, like I was telling him I saw Bigfoot. I opened the laptop again with my thumb, and it felt like showing someone my own blood. I clicked through the folder. I watched the officer's face tighten when my picture came up. My roommate shrugged and said, "It's research," like that word turned stalking into homework. He tried to make it about me touching his property, like the crime was my finger on the trackpad. One cop actually asked him if he had a reason to photograph keys. He smiled and said, "Inventory," like he was running a hardware store. They took the laptop, but they didn't cuff him. They didn't even tell him to leave. One cop told me to stay somewhere else for the night and work it out with the landlord, like safety was a scheduling issue. I called my landlord from the sidewalk with my hand shaking. The landlord said he couldn't rekey without both tenants agreeing because lease. I said there was a police report. He said he'd look into it. I could hear a TV in the background, like my life was interrupting his dinner. I went back once with a friend to grab clothes. I kept my keys in my fist the whole time, ready to stab anything that came close, and I hated that I'd become that person in my own hallway. My roommate wasn't there, but the apartment felt watched anyway. Every little black square on the wall looked like a camera. I shut the bathroom door just to change, even though I was alone. Later, my roommate texted me like nothing happened. No apology, no panic, just a neat little message about how I stole his work property and he was considering legal options. He always typed with this weird rhythm, short sentence, 2 spaces, next sentence. I teased him about it once. He'd said it was more readable. Now it just felt like his fingerprints on my screen. The cops called the next day and said they'd follow up. That was it. Follow up. Like we were talking about a missing package. 2 nights later, while I was still sleeping on my friend's couch, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I didn't even breathe before I opened it. Should have stayed home. Same rhythm as his typing. Same casual cruelty. Like I'd stepped on his favorite toy. The guy's shoe showed up on the escalator behind me, and my stomach dropped like I'd missed a step. Black Vans, the left one scuffed, same as on the platform, same as in the reflection of the train window when I pretended to check my hair. I clocked him because he stood too close and didn't do anything but watch. No headphones, no phone, just eyes. When the train rolled in, I stepped into the middle car and stuck near the doors. I kept my phone in my hand with the screen dark and watched the window like it was a security camera. He got on my car anyway, didn't sit, just hovered at the opposite doors. At the next stop, I slid into the next car like I was stretching. He slid in after me. I did it again. He did it again. By the third move, I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't special. I was selected. I got off early and walked fast like a fucking idiot, telling myself I was being dramatic. The street hit me with cold air and traffic roar. I used storefront glass as a mirror. Same shoes. Same distance. I crossed where I wasn't supposed to. He crossed behind me without even looking at the cars. I slowed like I was checking a text. He slowed too. I sped up. He stayed glued to my pace like we were tethered. At the first crosswalk, he accidentally bumped my shoulder, just enough to feel me. I spun and told him to back the fuck up. He smiled like I'd flirted. People passed us like water. One guy frowned at me like I was a nuisance. That's when I felt it, that ugly reality. If I screamed, most people would treat me like the problem they had to step around. I started walking because arguing would keep me stuck. He matched my pace. I cut left hard. He cut left. I fake turned toward a coffee shop and bounced off the locked door. I crossed again. He crossed again. I tried to tuck behind a group, then peeled off to a busier street. He stayed with me like he'd rehearsed it. I ducked into a bodega and bought gum I didn't want because I needed an excuse to be inside. Through the glass, he stayed on the sidewalk, hands in pockets, staring straight in. The cashier tracked my face, then his, then mine. "You know him?" he asked. I shook my head so hard my jaw hurt. The cashier's mouth tightened. He told me to stand by the counter. The guy started texting. Eyes down, eyes up, eyes down. The glow lit his face. I watched the screen flash, and my stomach flipped because I saw my own name on it. My actual name. The cashier saw me go pale. I told him what I saw. He cracked the door and yelled at the guy to get lost. The guy didn't argue. He just smiled again, like being challenged was foreplay. Then he lifted his phone and aimed it at the window. At me. Quick, casual, like he was taking a picture of a menu. I ducked behind the chip rack. The cashier swore and reached for his own phone. He asked if I wanted him to call 911. I said I already should have. He said, "Then do it," like he was tired of watching people talk themselves out of help. I hit 911. The dispatcher asked where I was, what he looked like, what he'd done. My words came out jagged. A man followed me off the train. He's outside. He keeps tracking me. He has my name. She asked if he touched me. I said he bumped me. She asked if he threatened me. I said he left threats without words. She told me to stay inside and call back if he tried to enter. No sirens, no urgency, just a script that put the burden back on me. I walked out anyway because I couldn't stand the thought of waiting there until he got bored and decided to come in. I held my keys between my fingers like everyone says. He peeled off the wall and fell in behind me, close enough I could smell cigarettes. I called my friend and told her to stay on the line. She started lecturing me, and I snapped at her to just listen. She said I should Uber or go to a hotel lobby, anywhere with cameras. I said I wasn't turning my whole life into a detour because some creep decided to play with me. She said I was making it worse by moving around. I said he was making it worse by existing. We fought in whispers while he walked behind me, and that pissed me off so bad I want to throw my phone into traffic. I cut into a laundromat because it was bright and loud. Heat and detergent hit me. I walked a loop past the machines like I was shopping for a washer. Then I tried the back door so I could slip out another way. Locked. I tugged it twice anyway because my hands were dumb with panic. When I turned around, he was inside already. He hadn't even pretended to look at the machines. He just stood there watching me realize I'd trapped myself. The woman at the counter looked up, irritated, then saw my face and straightened. I said too loud, "That guy is following me." The words cracked out of me like a cough. The guy's smile twitched, then he put on this innocent posture, shoulders loose, hands open, like I was accusing him for attention. He took one step closer, slow, testing. I slid sideways and kept a row of machines between us. The woman lifted her phone and aimed it at him without blinking. He stopped. He didn't like being recorded. He backed off, slow, and walked out the front door like he was leaving. Then he stayed right there on the sidewalk, staring through the glass again, waiting for me to come back out. The woman asked if I wanted her to call the police. I said I already did. She shook her head like she'd heard that sentence too many times. I didn't want to become the story she tells later, so I bolted. I shoved through an apartment lobby I didn't live in because the door was propped open. The doorman barked at me, then saw my face and raised his voice at the guy behind me. The guy didn't run. He didn't flinch. He just slowed, let the doorman see him, then drifted away like smoke, like he'd done this 100 times and didn't care about being seen. I walked extra blocks out of my way, doubled back, checked every window. I stared at shoes like a lunatic, hunting for that scuff. I thought I lost him. Then I thought maybe he was just letting me think that so I'd go home. When I got to my building, I stood across the street and watched the entrance like it was a mouth. I didn't see him. I went in anyway because the alternative was freezing outside until sunrise. The elevator felt too slow. Every ding sounded like a countdown. When the doors opened on my floor, my eyes went straight to my door. A cheap flower was taped to it with a sticky note. "You're not hard to find." My hand shook so bad, I dropped my phone twice trying to take a picture. I wiped my hands on my jeans and tried again because I needed proof of something, anything. I got inside, slammed the door, locked it again, then stood there with my back against it listening for footsteps. I tried the super, straight to voicemail. I knocked on my neighbor's door because I needed another human to know. He opened it a crack, saw the note, and said I should just call the police like I hadn't been doing that all night. I told him I already did twice. He sighed like I was asking him to do chores and shut the door. I called the non-emergency line after 9. 111 never followed up. The woman asked if he threatened me, if he touched me, if I saw a weapon. Same questions, same script. I said he followed me, bumped me, had my name, left a note on my door. She told me to file a report. I asked how, right now, with a stranger already inside my building. She told me to stay aware. I laughed, and then I cried, and I hated myself for both. I posted the photo on our /let's not meet because I needed somebody to tell me I wasn't crazy. One asshole commented that I should take it as a compliment. I wanted to reach through the screen and choke him. I blocked him, then kept rereading the note like it would explain itself. I dropped the photo in my building chat too, hoping someone would say they saw him. A neighbor told me to stop posting panic. Another said I was overreacting. Somebody reacted with a laughing emoji. I muted the chat because I couldn't handle being hunted by a stranger and judged by the people 10 feet away. That night, every time a car hissed past, I checked the peephole. I kept my shoes on. I shoved a chair against the door, even though I knew it wouldn't do shit. I set my phone to record and pointed it at the entry like I was filming my own fear. I checked the stairwell once, quiet as I could, and the smell of bleach and old garbage hit me so hard it made me gag. Empty. I locked myself back in and sat on the floor with my back against the door like a dog guarding a bone. Around 1:40, I heard the elevator whine, then a soft ding. Footsteps came down the hall and paused outside my door. I held my breath until my chest hurt. Nothing happened. The steps moved away, slow, deliberate, like whoever it was wanted me to know they were there. I didn't sleep. I just counted sounds. Pipes. Elevator. The hallway light clicking on and off. I kept thinking about that screen glowing with my name, the way he smiled when I cursed at him like the city had already taught him nobody would stop him for long. At 2:13 a.m., the hallway light clicked on and his scuffed shoe pointed straight at my door. The first sign wasn't a broken lock. It was my cereal box turned sideways, the front facing out like a display. I never do that. I'm not a neat freak, but I'm not some Pinterest psycho either. I froze in the kitchen with one sock half off, staring at the box like it had blinked at me. I grabbed it, turned it back, shoved it deeper into the cabinet, shut the door, then opened it again like some idiot expecting it to twist itself. I ran through my mornings: bowl, pour, slam, go. I don't curate cereal. I don't even read the nutrition label. I started touching everything like I was checking for heat after a fire. Countertop, sink handle, fridge door, nothing. Still, my pulse kept climbing. I checked the doors because I needed something solid to blame. Deadbolts still thrown. Chain still hooked. Windows still latched. I pushed on the frames until my palms burned and the glass rattled. I told myself I was tired, that I'd bump the cabinet and spook myself. Then I hit the bathroom, and the mirror was wiped clean except for a single fingerprint smear right in the middle, like someone leaned in close and breathed on it. Not toothpaste, not a towel streak. One greasy mark, centered like a target. I stared at it long enough for my eyes to water. I wiped it again, then washed my hands like the glass had contaminated me. I checked behind a shower curtain, even though I hated myself for it. I opened the linen closet. I opened under the sink. I walked every room, slow, trying to make my body act normal while my brain screamed that I wasn't alone. That day at work, I kept replaying the smear like a video loop. I snapped at a coworker over a stapler and then apologized too hard. I kept checking my phone like it could warn me. When I got home, I did another lap, slower, and counted stupid things. Knives in the block, forks in a drawer. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Then I noticed the junk drawer wasn't sitting right, like it had been closed softly instead of slammed the way I always do. I shoved it shut hard just to hear it bang, like noise could mark territory. That night, I didn't sleep. I killed the lights and sat on the couch with my phone and a dumb little bat I'd bought after reading too many /true scary stories posts. It wasn't a weapon. It was a prop for denial. The building made its usual noises, pipes, distant footsteps, some asshole's TV. But my brain started sorting sounds into normal and not normal, and everything landed in the second pile. I checked the lock, then checked it again, like my fingers could update reality. At 1:40 a.m., I heard it. Soft steps, not outside, inside. A floorboard in the hallway that only makes that noise when you put weight on it. Not the building settling. A step, then another. Slow, like whoever it was didn't care if I heard. My throat went dry. I didn't shout. I didn't do the movie idiot thing. I moved. I crept to my bedroom door and locked it, then slid my dresser against it until it scraped. My hands kept slipping because I was sweating like I'd been dunked. I pressed my ear to the door and listened hard enough to make my jaw ache. The steps stopped. For a few seconds there was nothing, and that nothing felt like a mouth waiting to bite. A drawer opened in the kitchen. Not a cabinet. A drawer. I heard the slide, the little rattle of junk shifting. Then something metal clicked. My mind ran wild. Knife, keys, a gun. Then I heard my front door open and close, slow and careful. Whoever it was didn't smash and grab. They moved through my place like they belonged there. That was what made me feel sick. It sounded like routine. I sat there with my thumb hovering over 911, arguing with myself in silent bursts. Call and sound crazy. Don't call and end up a headline. I didn't move until dawn started bleeding gray through the blinds. When I finally dragged the dresser back, my arms shook like rubber. In the morning, nothing obvious was missing. My laptop was still on the desk. My TV was still there. That made it worse. A thief takes things. A person who takes nothing is there for something else. I found my closet slightly ajar. Inside, my winter coat pocket was turned out like someone had searched it. Under my bed, a flattened candy wrapper that wasn't mine, shiny and crinkled, pressed into dust. I don't buy that candy. I don't even keep candy. I held it between two fingers and felt my face go hot, because dust means time, and time means they lingered. I went into the hall and stared at my door from the outside, hunting for prime marks that weren't there. I checked the hinges. I checked the strike plate. Everything looked fine, which somehow made it worse. When it looks fine, you start doubting your own senses, and that doubt becomes a leash. I knocked on my neighbor's door across the hall because I needed a human witness. He cracked it open, looked annoyed, and said he didn't hear anything. He glanced at my bat, then at my face, and his expression shut down like a garage door. He mumbled something about old buildings and closed up. I called the landlord's office and asked if anyone had entered my unit. The woman on the phone sighed and said they always give notice. I said I didn't get notice. She said then nobody went in. I asked who had keys. She said maintenance and management, like that was a normal answer to a nightmare. I asked if they keep logs. She said, flat, we don't have to. That afternoon, I bought a cheap camera and pointed it at the hallway. I mounted it high, angled it down, tested it until my phone buzzed over and over. I hated the feeling of turning my own home into a stakeout. The next night, the footage caught it. A man in a hoodie, face covered, walking in at 2:06 a.m. using a key. No forcing, no hesitation. He turned the lock like he'd done it 100 times. He paused at my bedroom door, pressed his ear to it, and stayed there long enough that my skin crawled, like he was listening for my breathing. Then he turned his head toward the camera like he knew exactly where it was. He lifted one finger and tapped the air, slow, like knocking on glass. Then he left. I watched that clip until my eyes burned. The calm of it made me shake worse than the break-in itself. He didn't rush. He didn't grab anything. He came in, checked my bedroom, acknowledged the camera, and walked out. Like a threat, like a joke, like he wanted me to know he could do it whenever he felt like it. I posted a screenshot on our /creepy encounters to ask what to do, and some genius commented that it was probably a maintenance guy. Yeah, sure. Maintenance guys totally sneak in at 2 a.m. and listen to doors like they're picking a fucking lock in their head. The comments split into camps, people telling me to get a gun, people telling me to calm down, people accusing me of staging it. I started arguing, then stopped because I realized I was burning energy on strangers while the guy with the key kept walking into my bedroom. I took the video to the police next because I needed a paper trail, something official, anything. The officer watched it, asked if anything was stolen, and when I said no, his whole tone cooled. He told me to talk to the landlord. I told him the landlord had keys. He shrugged like keys were weather. Then I handed the video to the landlord. He got angry at me, not the intruder. Told me I was making trouble. He focused on my camera, on policy, on how I wasn't allowed to record common areas, like that mattered more than a man in my hallway at night. I told him someone used a key. He implied it was maintenance. I asked why maintenance covered their face. He snapped that I didn't get to accuse his staff. He made it sound like I was attacking him personally. I demanded the locks changed. He said I could pay. I said I'd withhold rent until he fixed it, and he threatened eviction. He leaned back in his chair like he was enjoying it, like he finally had leverage over me. The next day, my lease renewal showed up with a rent hike and a warning about unauthorized surveillance. It was punishment dressed up as paperwork. I read it 3 times and felt my hand start to shake again. I bought a door wedge and a cheap chain lock from a hardware store anyway, then stood in my kitchen staring at them like they were toys. I couldn't install anything without permission. I couldn't afford to move on a whim. I couldn't sleep in a room a stranger treated like a checkpoint. I packed a bag like I was evacuating, passport, charger, meds, the bat, then kept unpacking and repacking because my brain wouldn't settle. I left a note for myself on the counter with the camera login, like I was planning for my own disappearance. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before driving away, staring at my lit windows, waiting for the blinds to move. That night, I stayed somewhere else. At 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert anyway. The camera feed showed my hallway light on, my bedroom door open, and the hoodie man standing in my room, perfectly still, like he was waiting for me to come home so he could stop pretending.